Hey guys, Ivan here, and in today's video we're gonna do something a little bit different, something I haven't really done on this channel, and this video is gonna be titled exactly as what it is. It's not gonna be called California Pro Breakdown or anything like that. It's gonna be exactly what it is, so if you click on it, you know what it is. If you wanna watch the whole thing, you can watch it. If not, wait for the next video. There is probably going to be another video tonight, a regular bodybuilding updates video. This one is gonna be a little bit different. I wanna see how you guys respond to this. If you enjoy this type of content, I might start another channel just for coaching stuff, maybe podcasts with other coaches, we'll see. But yeah, in this one, I want to do something that I don't think other coaches have really done, not in this way. So again, I've seen a lot of interest from you guys about me coaching Eric. I was honestly surprised how much you guys actually supported me on this and how much you were interested. Like how many views did my videos get? And also the other channels like Fuad Abiad's news channel, great channel by the way. It's different from this one. It's like podcast form of news, but still I love it. I love to hear Fuad's perspective. Him and Suki from the Beyond the Stage TV are doing a great job, and they mentioned me in that video. Fuad gave a really good objective breakdown of this whole thing. I loved it. I gave my response in the comments, but in this video, I'll get a little bit more deep into it. So what I'm gonna do here, guys, is I'm gonna give you pretty much exactly what I did with Eric for these 2 weeks we had together. 2 weeks is not a long time. It's just a finish of the prep. It wasn't only the peak week. We had 1 week of dieting down. Here is basically what we did. So first of all, the reason why Eric switched coaches in the last minute, and he should really talk about it. He already spoke about it before. He feels like he and Callum became really close friends, and Callum just wasn't. Maybe Callum isn't that kind of a coach. Some coaches are just not willing to run you into the ground if you're not getting conditioned easily. Some coaches are not willing to push you to that extreme level. I am not like that. I don't care about how you feel. If you need to be conditioned and you need to do 5 hours of cardio, I'm gonna give you freaking 5 hours of cardio because I've done more difficult things than you. I'm pretty sure about that. I probably wouldn't let anyone do anything that I did before because I probably went a little bit beyond the healthy and normal limit. But a little bit less than that is fine. So Eric kind of knew that. He's watching this channel for a long time now. We talk here and there. He sent me his photos and he asked me what I think, and I gave him my honest assessment. I was like, bro, you're behind. You're seriously behind. Push things now. Push them hard. And I guess Callum wasn't willing to do that, so he decided to take some drastic measures, and he asked me to help him, and I did. What we did different here compared to what Callum's approach was is basically, I'm sure you guys hear a lot of this lately from the coaches as far as the peak week. They're all like, if you're ready at 2 weeks out, you don't change anything in that peak week. Peak week is not there to make you magically look so much better. Peak week is just cruising you into the show, just landing the plane, and that's it. Just making sure that you don't do anything weird, anything strange. You just go to the show the way you are. Sure. Do I agree with that? Hell yeah, of course. If you're working with somebody for 20, 25 weeks and you have enough time to push and pull to bring the body fat down without sacrificing the size, you implement everything. I mean, that's something you need to know how to do, but it's not that complicated, really. I think most people can get shredded basically on their own. If they don't know about it, most coaches can bring them there. So that's not really a difficult part that much. There are tricky people, sure. Sometimes it requires a lot more attention, but usually that's the easy part. And if you really are truly shredded at 1 week out, 2 weeks out, why would you change anything? Why would you risk a better look, which you maybe can achieve, if you already look freaking amazing? You should just, cruise into the show like that. No risk. Yeah, there is some risk if you do a peak week. You can end up looking maybe a little bit flatter. Maybe you can spill over. There are those possibilities. If you're an expert at peak weeks, it's probably not going to happen, but there is still a chance. If you don't change anything, you are sure, you're certain. So yes, I agree with that. Also, that really sounds appealing. Like when you hear a peak week, you think about all this chaos, all this mess, all the things that could go wrong. And if a coach tells you, you don't change anything, you just cruise into the show and you look beautiful, you look perfect. It sounds really ensuring, so you think that's amazing, that's the way you should do things, but not always, guys, not necessarily. And if a coach doesn't know how to do a peak week, again, anybody can get you lean. That's not that difficult. And keep you big and full with drugs. I don't think you can burn that much muscle when you are on freaking trampoline and other compounds. And also, if you're implementing refeeds, if you have enough time. So that's really the easy part. The difficult part can sometimes be the peak week, and the coaches who don't really know much about peaking a physique, they're all like, you don't need a peak week. You just go to the stage with the way you look. However, if you get a client at 2 weeks out, like in this situation, who is not in shape, nowhere near being contest ready, who is basically going to embarrass himself if he continues doing the same thing, what do you do then? Well, in that situation, an aggressive peak week approach can do wonders, guys. It can definitely do wonders. I've seen it so many times. It's absolutely crazy how much it can actually help an athlete, a physique. And you just saw that at a California Pro with Eric Janicki. So what we did those first 2 weeks, I'm sure you guys want to hear about the gear. I can't get too deep into it. I don't want to exactly give you the details. I'll tell you some information, not a lot. So gear-wise, I did make some changes, not a lot, I wouldn't say too many, but some changes for sure. For example, I didn't understand why the test was that high. I definitely brought it down because I don't think you need so much test weeks before the show. Yeah, it's going to give you some fullness, but I think a normal amount, like 300 milligrams of test probe instead of anantate or cypionate, can give you that fullness and keep you fresh and feeling really good as well. And I've seen that high test can definitely hold some water. You can get rid of the water in the peak week and with the diuretics for sure, but I don't think you can get that same dry, hard look with high test for most people. Some guys who are naturally super shredded, sure, but the guys who are holding some water, who are usually a little bit softer, it doesn't work that well. So that's one change I made gear-wise, and the other thing is also high proviron. I don't really see the point in proviron, but I do love Vinstrol before the stage. I think it definitely dries you out. I don't know if it really affects the collagen synthesis in your skin and it creates a thinner look to the skin. I'm not sure, but it does something. It definitely does something and it gets you harder. So I'm not going to get too deep into the details as far as the gear, but those are some of the changes I did at the beginning. Now, again, we had 2 weeks of dieting and the peak week. Usually, the peak week is just for peaking. That's where you don't do a lot of cardio, where you try to bring the fatigue level down. But if you're running out of time, you gotta try and bring the conditioning until the last moment, basically. So that's what we did. What's the point of resting and bringing the fatigue level down if you're gonna be out of shape on the stage? So sometimes you gotta keep doing that cardio until the last day or at least 2 days out. So again, what we did with cardio is we brought it up pretty high. It was high. There was one session in the morning, depending on the day, it was somewhere between 45 minutes up to 75 minutes. I think one day it went even up to 90. Post-training, it was between 20 minutes to 30 minutes, something like that, and also a bunch of steps on top of that. As far as the food, what Eric's previous coach wanted to do was basically keto diet. No carbs, zero carbs, high fat, pretty high fats, and moderate protein. I said, scratch that. We went pretty low with the fats, not all the way down. He wasn't zero fats, but he was up to like 30 fats, 20, sometimes even 10. That was the lowest we went. As far as the carbs, they were there. They were in the plan. They weren't high, depending on the day, but usually there was some carbs before the training and after training. And protein was pretty high. Not high, but it wasn't low or moderate, I would say. It was more on the high end. Because in my opinion, if you're dieting hard and you're already pretty lean, you're not going to get too fat if you're eating a lot of protein. I haven't seen that in my experience, absolutely not. And also, I think you're much better off eating some carbs instead of eating a lot of fat. I don't think you need that much fat, to be honest, to perform well, and just some carbs around the workout, it can definitely help you a lot. So that's the change we made. A lot of cardio, a lot of steps, low fats, pretty good amount of carbs, I would say, high protein as well, and also implemented a couple of refeeds. For example, Saturday, 1 week out, I gave Eric 800 grams of carbs. He was hesitant. He didn't want to do it. I told him rest today, eat up. He was like, I want to push it. I want to do more cardio, more steps. I was like, no, it's not needed. Like, we already made some progress. I think he needed to carb up. I also learned a bit about his body, what I'm going to do for the peak week, how much carb his body needs to get fuller. That's something I usually like to do. And I think I've noticed this guy, I don't know how it works, but even after a show, if you compete, you know this, like once you carb up and you deplete after that, I think you just burn fat faster. And with that, basically what we did pretty much is we imitated a show, a carb up for the show. And then after that, we depleted again. So that final week, we went pretty low with food, with carbs. We still had a lot of cardio. There was one day in that last week where we had a refeed, not 800 grams of carbs, but more like 300, so still a refeed. He wasn't sure about that as well, but I felt like it was needed. I just listened to his body, and that's what his body told me. Now we come to the peak week, and like I said, guys, an aggressive peak week can definitely do wonders. So what we did is, we implemented diuretics for sure. We took Aldactone, the old school recipe. I don't like to do it, but sometimes it just makes sense. As far as water and sodium, we also did that the old school way. We water loaded and we sodium loaded, which is something I don't do with guys who are in really good shape because it's hard to control the peak week like that. But even then, even if you do that, if you know what you're doing, you can still control things. For example, if you're getting flatter in the process and you're losing water, you can just keep the sodium high and water as well. If not, you can bring them down. So we kept the water and the sodium high the entire peak week, basically. And up until the end, he was still drinking a lot. 2 days out, he was like 7 liters of water. 1 day out, 3 liters. The day of the show was about 1 liter. The pre-judging was early, so he didn't get a chance to drink too much. But still, water was there. Sodium was also pretty high the day before, especially the day of the stage. That's why he felt amazing. He had no cramping whatsoever. He felt energetic. He had a great pump as well. And yes, we did some diuretics the day before the show as well. A quarter thiazide before the show and also the morning of another quarter. Not a lot, but some was implemented. We carb loaded, but not too heavy. Because I've seen from that refeed that he doesn't need that many carbs to carb up a lot. And also I was worried about him losing that ability to do vacuum. Because his waist is not exactly narrow, it's a little bit wider, so he has to have the ability to pull a deep vacuum. That's why I kept the carbs moderate, high, but not too high. I try to maintain that fullness with a lot of sodium and with high water, as high as possible. You can do that as well. You can carb up like a maniac, but bring the water down, bring the sodium down, or you can keep the water and sodium high, and then you're gonna keep the fullness. Really, it's sodium and water what mainly maintains the fullness. We kept the GH in the whole time, didn't get rid of it, and also we had a little bit more than usual the morning of the show. And again, he had great contractions. He felt his muscle contracting when he would flex it. He had a good pump on the stage. He had a lot of energy. And I would say his peak week was phenomenal. And another thing, guys, also that goes into coaching is the mental aspect. You need to know how to talk to your clients. You gotta know how to adapt to them. Everybody is different. Some guys need a cold shoulder approach. The other guys need a lot of praise. You gotta figure that out. You gotta be a people's person, basically. You gotta be a good psychologist, pretty much. There are a lot of good coaches out there who just don't have this mental aspect nailed down. Hannah Rambod is known for being good with that. Some other coaches are known for being exactly the opposite. So sometimes those coaches can work for some people, but for most people they won't work. Did I miss something about a peak? I didn't talk about training too much, and as far as this one, I only gave Eric his split, and I told him what to do with the intensity, with the volume. I didn't write my training for him because he's an expert at training. He knows more than me, I'm sure, so I was just following what he's doing in terms of volume, intensity, and the split, and that's what we're doing this off-season as well. I just gave him the split, and he's doing his own training because I don't want to mix myself into something that he's a bigger expert than me at. And he has his own unique style of training, and he has to adapt the volume and everything around that. So as a good coach, you need to adapt yourself to those things as well. Like if you're not there with your client to train them personally, it's probably better off to let them do their own thing, just give them the split and basically the scheme of what they're doing, especially if they're a pro bodybuilder or at a high level. If it's somebody who is a beginner, of course, you're going to give them the whole training. But if somebody who already knows what they're doing training-wise, you don't want to change everything up, especially not in the last week or last 2 weeks. During that peak week also, we kept the supplements in check as well. As the show was approaching, we were monitoring his potassium intake. We slightly increased it as well because personally I've seen that potassium can give you that drier but harder look, especially at the end. You're taking some calcium to get rid of the extra potassium. Also, you're taking magnesium. I prefer bisglycinate before bed and magnesium taurate in the morning. Yeah, we did some insulin while we loaded for the show. It was, I think, something like 7 I used here and there, and I think 3 or 4 times in that a day, that last day before the show, we had 7 meals and I think like 4 or 3 times insulin. And I think that's pretty much it, guys. That's what those last 2 weeks looked like. I'm sure I didn't give you all the information. There is probably a whole bunch of things I could talk about. So if you have any questions, ask them in the comments. I'll make sure to reply everything in the comments. But this is basically the idea of what it looked like. And again, guys, if you are not in great shape, sometimes you gotta take the extreme measures, meaning doing a lot of cardio. If you're doing that kind of stuff, you need to be careful, monitor your body twice, 3 times a day, which is what we did with Eric, and give the refeeds when needed. Also, if you're not in shape at 1 week out, you should do a little bit more extreme peak week approach if you know how, of course. And if you don't know how, don't even mess with it. But that's something I learned and perfected over my career, my competitive career, and with my guys as well. I tried everything basically, and I learned how body functions. I know what electrolytes are needed when, how much water, how much salt, how your body reacts. And that's something you can learn only with experience. I don't think any books out there or college degrees or whatever, or courses with the other coaches are going to teach you that. That's something you got to learn. You got to get that feeling. You got to understand the body. You got to be able to connect with the body, to listen to it, and to give it exactly what it wants. As Chris Aceto says, bodybuilding is not a science, it is an art. You gotta be able to listen to the body. And if you know how to listen to a body, it will tell you everything you need to know, and you're going to be able to pick any physique at its 100%, which is exactly what I think Eric brought to this stage at this point. Again, if you had more time, he would be shredded and peaked well, but I got maximum out of him from what I could in those last 2 weeks, and I don't think anybody on this world could have done a better job. I'm sorry, guys. It might sound a little bit cocky or whatever, arrogant. I'm just being honest. I don't want to be fake modest. That's the way I see it. I don't think he could have been any better with what I was given. I think I pulled the maximum out of him. But hey, we started the off season. That's the deal right now. The plan was to do more shows, but he realized that I agree with this, that if he wants to be a winner, he needs a full year off to make the improvements, show up 20 pounds heavier, get in real contest shape a couple of weeks out, and then peak perfectly. And I'm telling you guys, next year, I don't know how long it will take us, but the next time he steps on the stage, he's going into that winner's circle, and he's going to the Mr. Olympia. I have no doubt about that. Wish us luck, guys. Tell me how you liked this type of the video. Any questions about coaching Eric or coaching anybody else, down below in the comments. For all the coaching inquiries, guys, Instagram, even bodybuilding_, you can DM me over there. We can talk about potentially working with you. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon. All the best, and bye-bye.